now we're going to take a look at our non-dominant hand, or our non-cutting hand, to see what kind of stability and control it can offer us during hair cutting. We will take a look at why we were told not to cut past our second knuckle, and examine our fingers and how to be able to keep tension all the way through, as well as use those fingers to stabilize the shear while we're cutting hair. When I was taught not to cut past my second knuckle, I was under the impression that I would cut myself if I would do so. Well, I found throughout my career that I was still able to cut myself even if I didn't cut past my second knuckle. This idea totally stems from the fact that we have a small gap, or at least some of us do, between our index and our middle finger. If you actually take your fingers and hold them up to the light, you might be able to see a little light peek through the base of your fingers. That's what causes the loss of tension below that second knuckle. We can rectify this loss of tension by simply overlapping just slightly our middle finger over the top of our index finger when we cut on top of our hand, or overlap our index finger on top of our middle finger when we're cutting on the inside of our hand. By crossing our middle finger over our index finger just slightly, we effectively close that gap between our fingers. Also, this sets us up perfectly to be able to use our index finger as almost like a cutting board for our shears when we move across. Notice my stationary blade is against my index finger. What this is going to be able to do, even though it's a little counterintuitive, is make sure that you're going to be able to cut a straighter line and prevent yourself from cutting yourself as much. When cutting on top of our hand, when we don't stabilize our shears against our fingers, we have to float above the section to try to cut a straight line. However, when we stabilize our shears against our fingers, we notice that we get a much cleaner, straighter line. Even though putting your shear against your finger might still feel a little weird, this will actually help you in stabilizing your shear and prevent you from cutting yourself. My advice is that in your spare time, slowly practice moving your shear across your index finger when you're thinking about cutting on top of your hand, and on the inside of your middle finger when you're wanting to cut on the inside of your hand, or palm to palm. This will make you feel much more comfortable when you're trying to learn the mechanics of this technique. The more you work with this technique, the more obvious it will become of the incredible control you have over your shear and the hair when cutting.